the Dolphins, they're basically over. I think week 2 of last year they beat the Bills. I don't even want to call that a winning team. I guess the Bills were 2-0, so they beat a winning team. But basically, over a season and a half, um, over more than a I don't know. Let me do the math. 16, 15. We're in week 9. Over 20 games sample size, a 20 plus game streak. They have not beaten a team with a winning record, and it's
What you
getting to
got
the
to do?
point where like that's who you are. You cannot beat winning teams. You hear it all the time. We've talked about teams that maybe aren't great, but they rise to the occasion and they win the tough games. But the Dolphins are the opposite. They beat up on the bad teams, and then they inevitably no show against all the good teams.
Is it what do we think's the main root to that? Is it their defense played pretty well in Germany against the Chiefs? They only gave up 2 offensive touchdowns. One was a
Which is
defensive touchdown.
what we talked about that before in the pregame show, that we just thought the Chiefs have been relying on their defense, but we thought that the Dolphins, being a high scoring team, could outscore them. So even with the fact that the Dolphins gave up a touchdown to the Chiefs defense, that's still only 21 points. We thought this high flying team, with both teams having to go, across the globe on the road. Like, if you said, "Oh, hey, the Chiefs only scored 21 points," I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, the Dolphins probably scored 24, 27 and won."
And all 21 of those were in the first half. Is it the Dolphins offense isn't built for these type of games? Is it I just from the eyeball test in this game in particular, and then the Eagles game, because those are the last 2 games I've watched of the Dolphins, is that Tua, when he can, and I'm not saying this like it's not public knowledge, I think most people would agree, when he's able to make his drop and just sling the ball away to whoever it may be on time and in rhythm, the passes are great. They look amazing. He's super accurate.
Yeah,
As soon as he gets moved off his base, the play gets extended. It looks like his arm just dwindles. Like it happened multiple times in this game where he was throwing off time and it was like a loft and it just didn't it looked like it could have been picked. It was in the air for so long. Or
yeah.
it's just not as accurate as he is when he's in rhythm.
I think you said it perfectly. He's a rhythm thrower, and I think teams are starting to realize that. So if you can generate quick pressure, not quick sacks,
Mm-hmm.
not not getting people free, but if you can generate quick pressure to get him off of his drop back and disrupt it, he's not as good. Also, if you are able to disrupt his wide receivers, he's not as good. So I think that's a thing. I think that's a thing teams know, and it's just a matter of if you have the defense to do that. Not everyone does. You could be like the Chiefs have a pretty good secondary. The Eagles have a very good D line. Um, Even the Patriots, the first time around, kind of were able to scheme that by taking away just the middle of the field. But yeah, there was that video going around of that one god awful pass he threw, and I saw more. I think most of people were like,
At the end of the game,
"Yeah," a lot of people were like, "Oh, that was a miscommunication," and I was just
I think
like,
it was.
"It was a awful miscommunication." I don't know what he
It
threw
looked
the
like he was
ball,
trying for a back shoulder type thing. It was a weird spot for it, but that's what it
but
looked
that's not
like.
even. It's not. It was. That's not even how you throw a back shoulder. It was like that's like how you throw like an out route when you're trying to throw it over a linebacker's head. It was just bizarre. Like had the receiver ran a comeback route or something, that ball was so lofted up. I guess you could say maybe he realized mid throw, oh crap, the receiver is not there, so he tried to pull it back. That ball, that was maybe the most duckest throw I've ever seen an NFL player make, even if it was on accident.
Yeah. Trying to find his completion percentage against pressure, but having trouble finding it, so I'm not going to worry about that. I think it's safe to say. I mean, we can only judge them on what they've shown us, and they haven't beaten a tough defense / winning team yet. And when things aren't humming, they can show they struggle to be the greatest show on whatever 2.0 or whatever people are calling it nowadays. Not anymore, but I don't know. If I think they're still going to make the playoffs, especially with the Bills struggling in that division. But what are we going to be? What are we going to be, one and done if you don't beat a winning team by then? So, and on the other
Yeah,
side of the ball, the Chiefs still struggled on offense, and their defense still looks really good. So, I mean, they pretty much are on par with what they've done this year.
yeah. I mean, I think the Chiefs are who they are. They're
Patrick Mahomes is running a lot.
yeah. Well, he has to because he. I mean, it's one of his abilities. He has like a sixth sense with finding gaps in your pass rush. If people don't stick to their gaps, and he'll take off, and it's usually like 8 to 12 yards at a pop. And it's not like he's doing it all the time. Maybe like 4 times a game or so. It adds up. Um, but if Travis Kelce can't abuse your defense, the Chiefs' offense is slowed down, and it's if you look, I don't think Isaiah Pacheco really got going this game.
No,
He had
they didn't.
he had 16 carries for 66 yards. It's 4 yards a carry, which is respectable. But Patrick Mahomes, he completed 20 of 30 passes for 6 yards an attempt. It was a good game. It's just, it's like they're not as threatening as they've been in the past. Their defense is probably the best defense Mahomes has ever had, though. So it's a good timing, right? Like, oh, our offense finally fell off, but hey, our defense is playing really good. I, like probably most people, thought that this was a game that the Dolphins could, take advantage of. Like,
Yeah, I thought it was. I that was my lock, was the under for this game, which hit. I just thought that the Dolphins would be able to take advantage of, which I guess should have been a an obvious thing to say. If it's a low scoring game, the Chiefs have the advantage. But for whatever reason, I just thought it would be an advantage for the Dolphins.
yeah, I mean, on the Jerick McKinnon touchdown, the Chiefs like had 3 defenders that were basically all over Travis Kelce. I think their one linebacker kind of got caught up in the wash, but because of that, McKinnon catches it underneath like drag and doesn't walk into the end zone, but by NFL terms, walked into the end zone.
Another thing I'm curious about. Yeah, you don't want to be dinked and dunked down the field, which is what the Chiefs have kind of been doing this year, anyways. Um, and Travis Kelce is still one of the best tight ends in the league, but his yards per reception is way down this year. It's almost 2 full yards less than his career. He's usually around 12.5 to 13.5. This year's at 10.5. So is that by design? Is he not getting as many? I mean, he's obviously not getting as many explosive plays, but they're also, I think he has become what he's always been, but now he's just like the ultimate, has to be the safety blanket for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and I also
which
think
is
that
probably hurting the offense too.
I don't know. Yeah, and I also think because of the limited receivers, teams are basically saying. I mean, yeah, since Tyreek Hill left, teams have been saying take away Kelsey. But now, as the receivers are less threatening, it's a lot easier for even a, you know, for an defensive coordinator. You can still play it safe with this team, and you can still throw an extra guy on Kelsey. In the past, I mean, even when it was just, last year with they had Valdez Scantling last year, didn't they?
I think so. They
And
had
Juju Smith
Juju.
Schuster. That's I mean, that's a lot different than this year. Those guys, like, they're not, game breakers, but they can hurt you. And if
And
you,
I was just gonna say a lot of people expected Sky Moore to have this huge year. Well, I did, and he's just doing what the rest of them are doing.
yeah, I'm about to go try out for receiver for the Chiefs, I think.